It's simple, really. Great stories with a good cup of tea. It's the Tea with Mike Show. Please welcome to the Tea with Mike Show, Nick LaVere. Welcome to Tea with Mike, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me.
Super excited to dive into your story today. So let's start with where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up, in the suburbs of Illinois, in Carroll Stream, Illinois, and pretty much I basically lived here my whole life, and I'm still here today. So, it's very cool. I live in a small town, not a lot of people, but it's pretty cool that everybody in this town pretty much knows each other, so that's one thing I like about living out here.
And what were some of your favorite things to do growing up?
Favorite things to do growing up, playing basketball was my favorite thing. That's the thing that I dreamed about my whole life. When I was 3 years old, my mom just put a ball in my hands. I remember living in an apartment, shooting in the little hoop and things like that, and had dreams of, playing professional basketball one day and things like that. So basketball is the number one thing. I love, hanging out with friends, kicking it. I'm a very chill guy, so, and just hanging out with family too. So, and hanging out with kids with special needs. That's a lot that I do in my free time. These kids just don't have that much opportunities in life to succeed. And if there's any way you can help out, it just put a smile on their face. It's like the greatest feeling in the world. So I love what I do.
And at what age did you first pick up a basketball?
Yeah, I picked up a basketball, like a legit basketball, at about 5 years old. And my mom, put me in a park district league. And the first practice I had, I just fell in love with the game of basketball, and I rode with it ever since. So
amazing. And so that you'd say it was something that, as you've progressed to where you are now, it's something that's always kind of motivated you, and it wasn't kind of, although your parents influence you picking up a basketball, it's never been forced.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As soon as she put the ball in my hands, I just fell in love with it. I loved everything about the game of basketball, and yeah, there's not much more to say about the game of basketball. I just loved it so much, and still love it today, of course. So,
if you could pick out one thing about basketball that you love so much, like what is that one thing or characteristic?
Yeah, competition. I'm a very competitive guy. I might be. All my teammates think that I'm like the most low-key person out there, but when the lights are on and when the game is on, I am the most aggressive person out there. Everyone goes, "Where's this kid? What is going on?" Because I'm such a laid-back guy, but I was just a different animal on the basketball court. Unfortunately, my career is over today, but now I'm working on an idea that help out special needs kids in a major way for the game of basketball. So that's my next accomplishments now in life going forward.
Do you kind of have two modes? Do you have like the competitive Nick mode, but as soon as you step off court, you just want to get hang out with your friends and get to know the opponents? Is that how you operate?
Yeah, pretty much. When it comes to the the game of basketball, whenever I'm playing, no matter if it's an actual game or playing in like a rec league or playing outdoor hoops with people, I'm always there to win. I hate losing so much. That's the thing I hate the most in this world, is to lose. It's the worst feeling in the world. But off the court, yeah, I'm just a real chill person that just gets along with everybody. And so yeah, that's pretty much my personality.
What are some of the most challenging things about playing basketball to you?
The most challenging things could be sometimes your shot's not going down. There's games where you're really hot and you might have a few games in a row when you're very cold, but because it could be very frustrating, especially myself. Like, I was known to be like a very good shooter, throughout high school and things like that. So normally my shot was going down, but there's games when I really struggle and I go back home and I just been so aggravated with myself that I just didn't want to talk to anybody. But that's not the right way to go about it. You got to move on. Next day's a new day, and yeah, that's the biggest challenge, how to overcome those situations, because a lot of people get so frustrated that they just don't know how to relax and, slow down, watch film, see what you were doing, and then correct it at practice next day or, films, things like that. So.
Great, and that leads perfectly into what were some of your favorite subjects in school and why?
Favorite subjects in school? Math was probably my favorite subject just because that's what I was best at. I always had A's in every, class I had in math. So I was always stellar in math. So math was definitely my favorite subject.
What was it about math that clicked so much, maybe in comparison to some other subjects?
Yeah, I was just always good with numbers. My mom, she's a manager at a Fifth Third bank, and she's been a banker her whole life. And she's always, when she was ever doing, having to do calculations and things like that when I was a little kid, she always made me do the calculations. So from a number standpoint, I learned that at a very young age, and that's why I was always the top of my class when it came to math. So.
Nice. And finally, on the math front, do you have a favorite part about math? Is it the shape stuff? Because I know when I was in school, I wasn't generally great at math as a whole, but I was really quick with like numbers and like multiplication tables, like 7 9s is 63 and things like that. So is there any particular aspect of math, or is it a little bit more broad?
It's a little bit more broad. When it comes to like the weaknesses, even though I was so good at it, I wasn't really the geometry type. It's just something I didn't like to do. But when it comes to like accounting numbers and things like that, that's just stuff that I was always good at, multiplication, division, adding, subtracting, things like that, and PEMDAS and things like that. I was just always the top of my grade when it came to that kind of stuff.
So in an interview that you recently did with your brother, you talk about some of the challenges that you face learning at school. So can you tell us a little bit more about these learning challenges and how you felt about these at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was, a kid in elementary school and throughout middle school and halfway through high school, I was diagnosed with a learning disability. So when it came to like certain subjects like reading and English, that was my downfall because I couldn't. Every time I read something, I just never understood, what was going on. And, I was just not really good at it. So when I was in elementary school, all middle school, and most of high school, I was put in smaller size classrooms when it came to those kind of subjects. And, at the time, I was so embarrassed about it because not only like I was the very popular kid when it came to, being one of the top athletes at the school because, everyone knew me as a basketball player and things like that. But I just didn't want people to know that I was just in a classroom with 6 or 7 kids and not being in an average size classroom with 30 to 35 people because I just didn't want people to think that there was something wrong with me, And I remember whenever the bell rang, I made sure that I was the first kid out of the classroom, so people didn't know that I was just in the classroom with 6 people. I just didn't want anybody to know about that. And now in life, now thinking about it, it really helped me to become the person who I am today. So I think those experiences because I see a lot of kids now that have the same learning disabilities as me that are in smaller size classrooms and things like that. And I just want to let them know not to give up because there's a lot of people out there that have been in smaller size classrooms that have learning disabilities and things like that that were able to become, very successful in life. So that's just where you are right now. When you're 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, that doesn't mean that should define you when you're 23, 24, 25 years old. So
true, man. So I'll share with you because we actually have a lot more in common than you may think. So I have ADHD. I also have dyslexia, and so at school I tried hard, but it always took me longer to process the information and then maybe some of my classmates. And I didn't discover this until maybe 2/3 of the way. I grew up in England to about 2/3 of the way through secondary school, which is the education system over there. But when I discovered, I guess what made me different or what made me special, because I believe we're always unique. Once I knew what challenges and differences I had, I was able to work with like a private tutor, and they helped unlock my full potential and helped me get like kind of similar to you in math, like top grades in English and stuff. So it's all just about, in my opinion, like finding a different way to unlock what you have outside of the traditional path.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree, more with you. And going, back in high school, things like that, because since I was well known for, being the top basketball player, not just in the school, but, in the area, like I've won a lot of awards in high school. I was unanimous all conference. I was all area. I was all state honorable mention, things like that. And I was getting heavily recruited by, Division II, Division III schools and things like that. And, a lot of these teachers, when I was still in those smaller size classrooms, when it came to, English and reading, things like that, I remember there was this one teacher that told me, you better get a full ride offer because you're not going to get into a college academically, because they didn't think that I had no shot, especially because of my learning disability, that I was going to be able to handle the, the college coursework and things like that. And that lit me up, because I actually, it might be bad to say, but I kind of like when people doubt me in a way, because it feels so good in the end when you always prove those doubters wrong. It's the greatest feeling in the world. So when I went to college, I have a business administration degree, at Dominican University, a small D3 college in River Forest, Illinois. They're a top 20 business school in the country. They are known for a business school. So the fact that I went there and I got a business degree at one of the best business schools in the country, overcoming my learning disability and things like that, because, in business, it's a lot of reading. You got to read a lot about different, companies. You got to look at, a lot of numbers and things like that. You got to be able to figure things out. And for me to prove those people who have doubted me wrong, it's the greatest feeling in the world. So, and I'm only going up from here. So I got a lot more work to do.
I like your attitude, and it's rubbing off even as we have this conversation. You're making me hungry to keep progressing in the things I'm doing. So that's amazing, and we're gonna have a little tea break, which is pretty traditional, I guess, on the Tea with Mike show. And the tea fact for the episode is: if actors are required to drink whiskey in a film or TV scene, they are often just drinking watered down tea instead, because it apparently looks the same as whiskey. And this comes from Teawithmikeshow.com/teafacts. So it's always interesting to see the uses that tea has in the world. Do you like tea, Nick?
At times, I would prefer just like coffee or anything like that, but, tea would be fine with me if that was the only thing that I could get at the time. So
I'm putting you on the spot, but if tea was the only thing in the room, like what tea would you pick to the best of your knowledge?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not that kind of tea person where I've tried so many different kinds. So just like any original tea would just work for me. I'm sure you know a lot more about me when it comes to teas like that. So you would know what other kinds are out there, but I'm not really familiar with that kind of thing when it comes to tea.
I'm definitely still learning as I do the show more. I learn a little more about tea each week. I would definitely not call myself a tea expert. I'm obviously British, so it's traditionally part of the culture, but I'm no expert, but I'm just learning as I go, Each week is a new tea fact, so each week I add to my palette and repertoire. So do you think that playing basketball helped you with your self-esteem?
Yes, absolutely. I knew when to turn it off, turn it on, and turn it off. Right. I knew when I needed that competitiveness out there, and then I knew when to turn it off to be, laid back and, just to become a, leader and captain. Because throughout pretty much my whole basketball career, for the most part, I was always like the captain of the team and things like that. So if anybody on the team was struggling or anybody was mad that, they turned over the ball maybe, or they made a mistake, missed a free throw and things like that, I was always there to support them. Like, hey, next play, let's move on. It's all good. Nobody's perfect. Even the greatest basketball players out there, they miss shots, they miss free throws, or they turn the ball over too. So nobody's perfect, so just be the best that you could be. As long as you give 110%, and every play, that's all that really matters.
Agreed. And can you tell us a little bit about your journey? So obviously from high school, playing a lot of basketball to university, which you alluded to a few moments ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So, transitioning from high school to college, I didn't think it was going to be very different, but it really was, because not only the competition standpoint, is a lot better because they recruit all the, the best players that they could find. It's not just where I live in Illinois, but I had a lot of teammates from, like California, Las Vegas, Michigan. So pretty much everywhere, all over, the country and things like that. I'm not going to lie. I walked in there. I was really confident, which was a good thing, but I walked in there like I was already the best player on the team kind of mentality. And I remember the first open gym, there was a kid on the team, that was first team all conference. He was almost player of the year and things like that. He was averaging 27 points a game. I'm like, all right, I'm going to light this kid up, and when I was guarding him and things like that, it didn't go well. And then it really was like, whoa, okay, I need to slow down a little bit here. Yeah, I am overly confident, which is a good thing. But at the same time, these players that have been here for years and they've faced the best of the best competition, all over the Midwest and things like that. So I got to, start having a good relationship with them and pick their brain as much as possible, and when it came to like school and things like that, it was really the same because I really went to a small university with only 3,500 kids that went there. So the average size classrooms was only 17 kids per class, which really helped me a lot because that means that a lot of these professors are going to always be available for their office hours or anytime before or after class instead of, going to a university when there's maybe 500, 600, 700 people in a hall. And, obviously no professor is going to remember all their students. And if you ever had a question, things like that, if you're in a class size with 500, 600, 700 people, there might be 100 people that need help too. There might only be one professor and there's no way that they could possibly help you. The school that I went to, there was always ways to get help. And, with me with a learning disability and things like that, that's just something that I needed. And Dominican University was the perfect school for me when I learned more about it when I went on my visit there.
Yes, I definitely also learned best in smaller class sizes where I could get to know the teacher or the instructor a little bit more personally, know that I can send them an email and I'll get a response typically within 48 hours at the latest and those types of things. And that was definitely something I utilized when I went to college twice for theater and entertainment production, and then also more recently for media and communication. So talk to us a little bit more about how challenging it was in terms of managing your time between playing basketball and studying.
Time management at first, walking in as a freshman, you have no idea what to expect, right? Because, it took me about a month to get the hang of it, right? Because I always went to all my classes and things like that, but, now you got to look at, I got out of class at, 1:45, but I got practice at 2:30 to 5, and then I got to go eat, and then I got to, get right to the computer lab and, doing homework and things like that. So it took me a while to always, because in college, it's always, you got to keep moving. You don't really have that much time to, to take a break and, relax and calm down a little bit instead of, just going to high school when you have the same schedule pretty much every single day. And then you go home, and it's pretty much you do the same thing every single day. But in college, it's different day every day, because you have different classes at certain days and things like that. So your schedule is so thrown off every day. But, I got to learn quickly that, time management is really important. Because I remember my parents, before I went to school, they told me, Nick, the only way to succeed in college is time management. Because not only you're there, you got a scholarship to play basketball, but you got to be successful in the classroom too, So, school is going to always come first no matter what. So, and on top of that, with being a basketball player, you have film sessions, you have weightlifting sessions in the mornings and things like that. So I always learned that, just always be on time for everything.
And so what do you think is the most important skill that you developed during your business and marketing course?
To have trust. And I think that's because, a lot of, business marketing classes, you always have to you always do group projects and things like that. There's not really that many projects out there that you really do on your own. So you got to be able to relate to these people because everybody has different, schedules, right? Especially, I'm an athlete, things like that. So I'm only available for a certain time of the day. And then a lot of people that go to college, they have to pay off their school, right? So a lot of these people are, they have full-time jobs and things like that. And they go from school straight to work and things like that too. So, just always have trust that people are going to, get things done. And, and getting to learn a lot of people was a great thing. I learned so many other people's stories of where they came from and, why they got the degree that they want to get and things like that. So it's an incredible journey, especially going to a small university. Like, especially I was an athlete, about 30% of the students there were athletes. So like I was able to connect with so many people right off the bat. And, I just loved everything about, being a business major and working as a team and things like that. Because that's the only way you're going to be successful in the world. You can't do everything on your own. So
That's so true. And so, do you feel that your learning differences made your studies more challenging at university, or were they an asset?
I think it was an asset, because, you learn so many different things and a lot of people have so many different, perspectives on things and things like that. You get to learn more why people, think a certain way when it comes to, business and things like that. I was able to pick so many people's brains that were, high honor roll students and things like that. And, I got and then they got to learn my story, what I told them about, having a learning disability and things like that. And, and they were so supportive of me because, I was doing something that not that many people with learning disabilities were trying to accomplish, was a college degree. And especially I was going to be the first person in my family to ever get a college degree and things like that. So they were always just supportive of me. And they gave me like their phone numbers and their emails. Like anytime you need help on anything, don't hesitate, hit me up. And I'm always here to help out. So it wasn't just professors that were always there to help out. It was other, students in the classroom too that were just so nice and always wanted to help out if I needed it. So I want to, thank everybody, all my professors, the faculty, my basketball teammates, of course, my coaching staff and all the other students that I've been in classrooms with, that I've done other projects with. I got to learn so much and, I'm using all that knowledge now to work on my, National Ability Basketball League. So.
And we're about to dive a little deeper into that. So in your bio, you talk about a project that you're working on with former NBA player Maurice Ager that aims to change the lives of kids with learning and developmental differences. So can you tell us a little bit about this project and who inspired you to start it?
Yeah. So, this project right now, we're trying to become, the first ever professional basketball league for special needs kids where they could get paid and become a true professional athlete that could work on their craft every single day. They don't need another job. They don't have to worry about anything else in life. Just come to work and play the game that you love, which is the game of basketball. So pretty much this is going to be the NBA version for special needs kids. And we're going to get the best of the best competition from states all over the country and things like that. And, working with, Maurice Ager, has been awesome. Not only he's very well known in the world, for being a former NBA player. Now he's actually living in Asia right now, helping out so many kids out there. And he was a Grammy nominee music producer too. So he's done a lot and he's very well known for a lot of different things, not just the game of basketball. And when I hit him up on social media, he got back to me so quick. He goes, Nick, like, I love this idea. Like this idea could really make a difference to millions of special needs kids out there. I want to help out in any way. And we got on the phone with each other and, we just created a great partnership ever since. So
that's aside from the significance of this project now and obviously moving forward, that must be a special moment also for you personally on how far you've come.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I always, I'm a big basketball fan and, I know that he played at Michigan State, things like that. And he was a former first round, NBA draft selection and things like that. So when he wanted to help out, it was like, oh, wow. Like, because I just would have never thought that I would have somebody like that to support. especially in the early stages, because, most celebrities like that, you wouldn't think they would really go out there and support and put what you're trying to accomplish out there until, it becomes very, very well known. And for him to be there for me at the early stages it was just at the time, just an idea. Like, I really had nothing started. Like, I didn't have a business plan at the time. I didn't have anything. I just told him what I wanted to do. He goes, Nick, dude, keep me involved. I'm going to help out. I'm going to spread the word. I'm going to do this. And he knows a lot of people too. Not only like basketball players and things like that too, all the coaches he's had in the NBA and things like that too. So, as long as we keep spreading awareness about this, he's going to definitely connect me to more people out there that are willing to help out. So I'm very excited for the future of this basketball league.
How did you come up with the idea? Who inspired you?
Yeah, so the logo, which I have right here, is my younger brother Alex, who has autism, and he's been my biggest inspiration, because I see every day the challenges that he has to go through on a daily basis, by having autism and things like that. And you see, a lot of these kids, it's not really a normal life. They do the same thing over and over and over again. Like, they'll go to school, and then they'll come back home, and they don't really do that much else. And for my brother to see him, he smiles, he's so happy, he's laughing for doing the same thing every single day. If that was me, like, I think anybody that doesn't have, a disability like that, like, if you're doing the same thing every single day, a good 90% chance you're going to be miserable. You know what I mean? And that's just something, just in general, like in society, like a lot of these kids don't have enough opportunities in life to succeed, right? Because you see, after they get out of, school and transition programs and things like that, you see that they only get the minimum wage work, right? So you only see them working at gyms, grocery stores, restaurants, fast food places, just to try to, just barely make minimum wage. Like, how are they supposed to survive on their own? Right? You don't give these kids to actually give them an opportunity to be well known in the world. And that's something that I really want to change, right? Because, 1 to 3% of the global population is somebody with an intellectual disability. So that's about 200 to 300 million people in the world. But how many of them are famous? Or, how many of them have the opportunity to be well known in the world? And it's just a shame that many people don't get any chances in life to succeed. And, NABL's bigger than the game of basketball, because we want to show people that if you give these kids a chance, they could deliver. These kids are very smart too. Like my younger brother, for example, he's the smartest kid in the house when it comes to technology. He could honestly be, a manager at any like technology company like Best Buy and things like that. Because anytime if something's wrong with the TV, and 9 times out of 10, I have no idea how to fix it, I call my brother down, he takes the remote from me, and he finishes it in 30 seconds. So the fact that a kid like that can be that smart and that intelligent, but not have the opportunity to actually use that knowledge to be successful out there, it's just a shame how society has treated these kids with intellectual disabilities. And this is something that I've been wanting to change my whole life. I want to spread as much awareness as possible, be an activist for the special needs community, and help out as much as I can.
Can you tell us in a little bit more detail what autism is? And yeah, and you touched on it, but maybe go a little deeper into how your brother who has autistic tendencies has impacted your perspective on life.
Yeah, absolutely. Autism, it's very similar to other intellectual disabilities out there, Down syndrome, Asperger's, and things like that. Kids that are unable to like fully understand or not fully know how to act in a way and things like that. And to see like that every single day, sometimes like I'll be at a store, at amusement parks, because my brother loves amusement parks, and he might act a certain way. And, people are giving us dirty looks because they don't really see that a whole lot. It just really frustrates me because there's a lot of people out there that are unknown when it comes to the special needs community, or they're uneducated when it comes to, the special needs community and things like that. And I just want to let these people know that there's so many of these kind of kids out there that have gotten the unfair treatment, and that's just, I can't stand for it anymore. There's a lot of companies out there that have helped out special needs kids in a lot of ways. And I think every single company out there, but I still feel like we can do better. every company and, just as a society, like we could do better for these kids. And, that's just my mindset 24/7. Like, this is all I think about. The only times I don't really work on this project is if I'm at the gym or, I'm working full time too as well right now. So I barely have time for myself, to do things that I enjoy in life. The things that I enjoy in life are for other people, like especially these kids. I want their happiness to come first before anybody else, for once, because you never really see that out there in the world. Like, everybody wants to do things that's going to be best for themselves. And I don't blame them for it at all. Accomplish your dreams. But my dreams is to make the special needs community as happy as possible. And that is my goals. And that's my aspirations, to make dreams become reality for these kids.
So, how did your brother get involved in basketball, and what do you think he gained from being part of a team sport?
Yeah, absolutely. Alex loved the game of basketball too. Ever since he, saw some of my games and things like that, every time there was a timeout or things like that, he always took a basketball from my bag and just started shooting. Shooting. I remember the reps all the time used to, like, sometimes they'll let him, sometimes they don't. But I think it's just because he watched how competitive I was, how good of a basketball player I was and things like that, that he could do the same thing too, for special needs. So we put him in basketball too, and he has thrived, so much. He was one of the best players on his high school team. He was one of the best players on his AAU team. His high school team's been downstate multiple times to almost win a state championship. Unfortunately, they didn't win. But the fact that he got to go downstate and play at the highest high school level when it comes to special needs, and to see 500, 600, 700 people in the crowd, supporting these kids so much. And, that's the thing that a lot of people don't really understand. If you go to a special needs game, is like, these kids do know what's going on, right? They know if they're winning or they're losing or the game is tied, and the coaches and the fans take the game so seriously too. Like, there's never a point in time in any special needs basketball game where there's nobody not screaming in the crowd, right? It's the same thing as a regular high school varsity game or a college game or, a professional overseas or NBA and things like that. It's the same exact thing. So I just don't understand why there has not been a professional basketball league for special needs kids, and how I came up with the idea. When you're a college athlete and you're a full-time student, you just don't have a lot of time to start applying for jobs on LinkedIn. You just don't have a lot of time to do that, right? So I just took a paper and pen. I just started writing down everything that I enjoy in life. And basketball was obviously the first thing, because that's what I loved when I was a kid. With having a younger brother with autism and working with a lot of special needs kids in my free time, I wrote down working with special needs kids, and me having going to have a business degree at the time, wanted to run my own company. And those were the first three things I wrote down. And as soon as I wrote those down, like, a light bulb just flipped up. Like, I'm like, wow, I just came up with something that I can't believe no one has ever came up with before. Like, and I just rolled with it ever since. So.
Yeah, that's sort of how the Tea with Mike show also started. It started as a college project, but it started with me writing different ideas down on a piece of paper, and then over time it's developed and progressed. So I can definitely see some similarities between us. How have the skills that you developed during the business and marketing course, how has that helped with the project, and also what other skills have you had to develop that you didn't necessarily know at the beginning along the way?
Well, that's a great question. And to use, my business, side of things when it comes to something like this, I had to do a lot of, it wasn't just like business classes. You obviously have to take management classes, you have to take marketing classes, you have to take accounting, finance classes, and you got to take international business classes, things like that. So all that knowledge I learned from every single class, I just took into this project, right? It's not just, there's a lot of people out there that think that they can run their own, business and things like that, but people don't understand, like, how hard it actually is and how exhausting it can be and how dedicated that you have to be, right? And me, being a business major and things like that, like, you always had to be dedicated to your work. There's never a point in time where you can't put your 100% into, it could be a homework assignment or a project, whatever, because that professor's going to know that you can do a lot better than that, right? And things like that. So that's how I've been able to do my business plan, connecting with other potential sponsors and things like that. Like, you got to talk to them like it's a business, right? You got to bring up like what you're trying to accomplish, why something like this should be out there and things like that, and give them like just an education, about for the special needs community and things like that. So that's how I've taken, my business into, all this. But something that I didn't really use. Wow, that's honestly, I think something I didn't use. Well, obviously, hopping on podcasts like this and things like that, right? Because you wouldn't think that just hopping on podcasts and things like that could really help out spread the message of something what I've been trying to do. So like, I want to obviously thank you and thank all the other podcasts that I've been on, because you guys have really helped out so much for taking your guys' busy schedules out of your day, to come talk to a person that you don't even know, to talk about something like this. So yeah, just then hopping on podcasts and things like that is something that I wasn't really aware of, because I just honestly, I never really listened to podcasts.
Me neither, until I started a podcast.
Yeah, so we can relate to that too. And now I realized that, because sometimes it's like, why do people really want to start podcasts? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not that many famous podcasts out there, right? There's some, you know what I mean? Like professional athletes, things like that. They have their own podcasts and things like that now. But, but no, I really appreciate it for sure. So.
And also, typically, on average, the people with successful podcasts are people that have already accomplished a whole bunch in other segments of their life. So the podcast is just another way, and they're automatically bringing across thousands, millions of followers. So they automatically become successful in podcasting, even though they built it elsewhere. And that's just how the success looks in that moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it on the head, because, with podcasts, like, it's actually a lot of marketing to it, because, there's a lot of people that are huge fans of podcasts that normally just stick with the podcasts that they watch. But now you got to figure out, how can I get them to watch my podcast? Like, how can I market it in a way, to spread the message that what I want to do with my podcast to intrigue people? Just like what I'm doing with the National Ability Basketball League. Like, I knew like a lot of people from my hometown, a lot of people from that I went to school with and things like that, college. I knew I was going to get support that way. But how am I going to start getting support from these other states? How am I going to start getting support from, potential sponsors and things like that? So we're kind of on the same boat, just in different paths. So I definitely see where you're coming from.
What's next for you? Like, how do you have share as much as you can? Do you have a plan in place to get more as sponsors and as more awareness for the project and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in talks with, just like I said, a lot of different, sponsors. So a lot of like companies that are strictly, working to improve the special needs community's lives and things like that. So I've been in talks with a lot of companies around the area like that. Also, I've been in talks with some, sports analysts out there. I've been in talks with other basketball companies out there, that would really want to help out in a way. So I'm just always on the phones 24/7, trying to get the word out there as much as possible, right? Because nothing like this has really happened before. So when you talk to people about, NABL and how it's going to be hopefully become the first ever professional basketball league for special needs kids, like, a lot of people have so many questions about that, right? Because it's never been done before. And, so I'm kind of still, in the early stages, but now, the plan is, start off small, because you're not going to know how many people would want to come to this event. And two, you don't know how many people would want to stream it, because I'm planning on streaming the games as well, because I want as much viewers as I can get, obviously. So I want to start off in the Midwest region. So every state in the Midwest will have a professional basketball team. And as it keeps growing and growing and growing, I would love to have every state in the country, to have a team. But the hardest part could be the traveling issue, because, a lot of these special needs kids, they might not be able to fly. So I think the best way to go about it is just having them to play by regions. So it'll only be like bus rides and things like that. So they would never have to worry about, getting on a flight and things like that. I want these kids to be as comfortable as possible, right? I never want to put these kids in a uncomfortable position where they could freak out. I never want to do that. So
obviously you're a very busy person, and you're using your time and your legacy to impact and help others, which is fantastic. But how do you look after your own mental and physical well-being?
That's a great question. You just got to take things a day at a time, right? So what I do on a daily basis, I go on my notes on my phone, and I just have a day-to-day schedule. Okay, I got to make this call at this time. I got to make this call at this time, or I got to get on the Zoom call with this person, and things like that. So I always have a few hours to myself every day. So I know I actually structure my schedule just like how it was in college, right? Because time management is very important, because you don't want to kill yourself and do things at the last second, because it's only going to drive you crazy if you always wait to the last second to do something. So that's how I handle my day-to-day life. Time management is so key out there. So
what's one piece of advice that you would give to anyone based off your story and everything that you've been through so far?
Yeah, absolutely. Never give up, right? Because even if you're, doubted, or a lot of people don't have a lot of faith, in your future and things like that, trust me, I've been there, right? As I talked early on the show, being in smaller size classrooms and things like that. And, I was embarrassed about it at first, but just embrace every position that you are in life, no matter if it's good or bad, because use that as extra fuel to the fire. Don't take no days off. Just always keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing for your dreams, because one day your dreams are going to become a reality. And it might take days, it might take weeks, months, years, but if you just keep going and going and going and going, eventually it's going to happen. That's the stage I'm at right now, because I've been working on this project for about it's actually been close to a year now, about 10, 11 months. And it's been a grind every day. And, I've made so much improvements on it already. Now, fortunately, I came out with this idea, of course, when COVID came out. So the plans that I had originally when I wanted this to start and things like that, everything was out the window. I had to reapproach how I wanted to get this done and when I wanted to get this done now. And the only good thing about, with the COVID situation is, like, now I have more time to prepare for this. Now I could, look at my business plan over and over and over and over again to see if there's a mistake or there's something that I should consider and things like that. And if people ever disagree with what you're trying to do, hear them out. Right? I know what I'm trying to accomplish is a great thing, but, there's people out there that I've talked to, like, very well known in the world. They go, hey, I think you should tweak this a little bit. You should consider doing this. Pick as many people's brains as possible, because it's only going to help you grow. Your way is not always the right way, so, and nobody's perfect at the end of the day, man. I've made mistakes in my life that I'm not proud of, but, you just got to keep moving forward, because at the end of the day, as long as you know who you are as a true person, that's all that really matters. It shouldn't matter to you what people say about you and things like that. Everybody out there has their own opinions in life on anything. It could be about a person. It could be about, pretty much anything. So just stay the course and just keep continuing to strive for something. So
I couldn't have said it better myself, and I agree with literally everything that you just said. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Nick.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's the Tea with Mike show.